Well, it's a big question. And it's one I've thought about a lot. I think addiction is driven by a number of different things. It probably is a degree of nurture. To what extent were you nurtured?
Hmm.
What extent were you neglected? I'm talking generally now, not
Yeah,
specifically
yeah.
for me. I think if you've grown up in a family of alcoholics, genetically and environmentally, you've got an uphill battle to keep away from that. I think growing up gay in the 80s and 90s was in the UK quite tricky, and probably in Australia as well. There weren't a lot of gay people, openly gay people. There were none in my school, and I went to a school of 1,500 people. At least no one was saying they were curious or bi or gay.
Yeah.
Even on television at the time, I think we had, there was a soap opera called Brookside, in which they had the first lesbian kiss, and it was seismic in terms of its significance. Another soap opera had a couple of gay characters, but really, that was it. There were no sports stars who were openly gay. So I think there's something of that. You're concealing a very big and fundamental part of yourself. And that could lead you to seek escapism or false confidence in alcohol, perhaps. I think then as I got older, it's a way of being confident, we all want to fit in at a certain point in our teens, of being in environments that I didn't want to be in. I was always getting chucked out of nightclubs because I didn't really want to be there. It's a heterosexual hotbed of desire and not much in there for me. So I quite often managed to get thrown out of there. So I think there's that. I also think as I got older, I was in a job. Certainly once I got to the city, which I was always in sales, but not necessarily in the City of London. But the City of London was, and to a degree is, a very decadent place. The pubs will be busy from the moment they open up. Well, to an extent, they'll be busy from the moment they open up. Sales is a role where if a client spends money with you, you take them out on the piss, basically. You take them drinking. Not always, and that has changed now. Clients can't accept alcohol necessarily anymore in the way they could, but there's that. And I was in that environment. It wasn't an environment I particularly enjoyed being in. So I'd have colleagues who would say things like, "Oh, I'm not going to get out of bed unless the deal's worth more than 50 grand," or "I woke up this morning and the Mercedes was on the drive. I don't even remember driving it home." You know, they're not my people, really.
Yeah.
So there was that. I had a poor set of values at the time. The things I valued weren't very wholesome. They weren't very meaningful. I mean, they're slightly unfair, and I'd always maintained good friendships. I've maintained good health and fitness as much as you can when you're putting a whole load of drink inside you. But nonetheless, you know, my values weren't great. I didn't have the sort of integrity that I have now, for example. My identity, I think that's a key part of it as well, is things we don't talk about so much when we think about alcoholism. But if you haven't got or you aren't connected to a strong sense of identity, then that mismatch, that lack of authenticity can also drive escapist behaviors. I think it's an accumulation of all of that, really. Plus, if I think about it, I started drinking very young. I started drinking about 14 years old. And your brain isn't formed. It's got considerably more years to do to fully form. So you've already stunted brain development. You've made neural connections around alcohol and being funny, alcohol and being popular, alcohol and escaping feelings. And those neurons, once wired, are very hard to unwire. So you carry that into adult life. And you start to associate alcohol with different sorts of behaviors. So I think all of that put together, and maybe something I've missed, kind of, and just the habitualization of that behavior,
Yeah.
you know, and then get to a certain point where the psychological addictions are then completely reinforced and hamstrung by the physical addiction. And then you're in this washing machine. Can I swear on this podcast? I'm guessing so.
Shit.
You're
Yes.
fucked.
You can say
Because
fucked.
once
Yes, you can.
you're fucked. Because once you're in that washing machine of you feel really nervous and jittery and you have a little glass of something and it goes, then you top up your blood alcohol limit and you can function really well while you're doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
The city's full of people. The world is full of. There are functioning alcoholics everywhere. And then you top up your limits, but you go to bed at night and the blood alcohol level drops and you wake up feeling a bit jittery and off it goes. And you can't easily get off that. And in fact, it's dangerous to abruptly.
Goodbye, goodbye, I'm in your head.